Gregory Harrison, no, but yes. Hi, everyone. Let's check the sound. Because the last couple of things, the Omnissiah wasn't with us at the very start and decided to be funny with the sound. Is the sound okay? I've got the Necron codex. Today is about the Necron codex. We're going to talk through it. We're going to answer any questions that you might have. Just in case your sounds exists, although maybe a little quiet. Sound exists, though quiet. Right, so it's definitely coming through the microphone. So all these things are on the right thing. So I think we're good for sound. Yes, we're doing the Necron codex. I do have the Admech codex, but we're not talking about the Admech codex yet because I need some time for that wound to become a scar. Once we've had a bit of healing, once we've played the Necron Codex quite a few times, in fact, and had some fun, then we'll delve into the heartache and the heartbreak that is the Admech Codex. I've had a look at the Admech Codex, but when I say I've had a look, I've had the briefest of looks. As I said, I need some time for that wound to become a scar. So hello, Matt Banks, Mick the Machine, Dats and Des, Rue, some absolute legends in the chat here, people that I've met at various events and things. Hello, everyone. Loads of members of the 13th Fleet here. A couple of mug members might be out there. There's only 38 of these out in the wild. So if you're one of the inner core, cheers to you. We have our coffee. We're rocking the thing. You might notice, hi Rubius, hi Andy H, you might, and hello to everyone who is watching this after the stream. Because, you know, obviously a lot more people watch this after the stream. I'm excited for this. Have a bunch of Necrons on various box sets of such trades. I think now it's time for my dynasty to awaken. Yes, it's definitely time for the dynasty to awaken. Let me tell you, the Necron Codex is good. But yes, in Mug Crew represent Andy H. Nice, man. Yeah. I'm a little bit tanned. The reason why there were a couple of STCs, we had some STCs. I went on holiday, but I'm back now. I can reveal that I was at the 500 Worlds of one of the 500 Worlds, Ajax. It's lovely after the Death Guard invasion. It really is. And got a little bit of a tan. And here we are again, which is why there was no, because I did get a few messages from people saying, why haven't you done a Necron review? Or why have you done an Admech review? Because the Codex reviews are something that I've been doing since I've been doing this. And we're in our 9th year now, people. How goes it, Mr. Consistent? Well, as I was explaining, Friendly Neighborhood Inquisitor, rather inconsistently, because consistently I've always done the Codex reviews since I've got them. And this time I missed it. I was away. I'm terribly sorry. You've just started painting half your Indomitus box from a few years ago for anti-mug. Well, now is the time for Necrons. Let me tell you, the dynasties are on the rise. The first thing, any questions, by the way? Should we get this out of the way? Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. Here's to 9 years done. Thank you. Here's to many more. Yes, hopefully many more. I'm still surprised I'm here. You know, March of War, we did the March of Winters event like last month or something, and we've booked something, a one-day event for next year. And he said, do you want to do the year after that? Do you want to do a 2-day thing? And I was like, yeah, of course I want to do a 2-day thing. But what makes you think that either of us will be here in 2025? I'm surprised that I'm still here. I mean, you go around the sun often enough, you get dizzy, you fall over. I think that's how people die, right? I think dizziness. And I've seen all sides of that sun. I've been around it many times. So yeah, the Necron Codex. The best thing about the Necron Codex is that there is 5 detachments. I was a bit worried after the Space Marine 1 and like, are they going to... I mean, when we get to Leagues of Votan, were we going to have the 6 or 7 detachments? Were we going to have a chunk of detachments? Is there going to be loads? I mean, can you really justify having like 6 detachments for the League of Votan? I don't think you can. I think maybe 3. And there's 5 in the Necron one. And we know what one of them is, the Awakened Dynasty, when you attach a thing to a thing and they hit better. We know what that one is, so that leaves 4 new ones, and that's good enough for me as a Necron player with 10,000 points worth of Necrons. That's good enough for me, particularly as all 4 of them are unique and individual, and they've got some flavor to it, and there's some nice strats in there, and it didn't melt my brain reading it, unlike reading the Admech Codex, which we're not going to talk about this evening. We're not going to talk about. Anything you don't like with the Codex is the Reanimator Aura being only 3 inches. I get it needed to be. Yeah, so the Canoptek Reanimator Aura went down to 3 inches from 6 inches. They have made a couple of changes like that to reanimation protocols. The reanimation protocols rule stays the same, but the Resorb is a once per battle thing, and it does D6. You can't reanimate when you're in reserves, unless there's a particular detachment all about monoliths and going in and out of reserves, and there's a strat in that, a 1 CP stratagem where you can reanimate while you're in reserves. So that's quite nice. 1 minute. I completely missed the bin. I'm going to pull some shite out of my ear. Des, thank you for your 13 months. 15 months. 15 months. So I like the Admech Codex. I would say, Des, we're not talking about the Admech Codex this evening, okay? It hurts. Admech hurts. After 9th edition, and then the Revelation in 10th edition, when it's so much has changed. It's not the Admech that we knew. It's a bit like going back to a place when you get older. Like I went back a while ago now. I went back to a place where I was when I was 4, and this massive hill. I remember climbing up this massive hill and down the massive hill to the park. And now I'm older. It was like it's not a hill. It was just like a street. Half a street, a quarter of a street, and it wasn't a hill, it was a gentle slope. But at the age of 4, it must have been like a mountain. Things change as you get older, or you change, and the Admech has changed, and we're not talking about it. It used to be 12. Wow. Did it? The Canoptek thingy bob used to be 12. I thought it was 6. Well, I will. Yeah, okay. So, look, it still does what it does, but you need to be close, and you need to bring a couple of them if you want to use the Canoptek thing. And if you do want to use the Canoptek thing, oh, friendly neighborhood, thank you for your 12 months, maybe. Baby. Name that song. Message spam, yay, thanks for the great content, Winters. Thank you for your 12 months. Yeah, so the Canoptek Court, for example, that's one of the detachments. You see a couple of them in there. Maybe 3 inches is too tight. 3 inches is not tight at all, mate. Ba-boom-tish. And 3 inches is all you need for a good pile in, right? Yes, hi Simply Warhammer. Welcome. Everyone check out Simply Warhammer on YouTube. Seriously, go check out Simply Warhammer on YouTube for short 5-minute or less videos about his tournament stuff, but also thoughts, feedback, things like that. All the members will know Simply Warhammer. He's been in many battle reports on the members channel. I keep them to myself, you see. I really should shout them about. Yes, nice posters, thank you, from many of the Horus Heresies. Down here, you may also see a pussy. But his tail is flicking, look. Just about. That's because I'm talking and he wants to sleep in his donut. And hello, Herr Katan. Greetings from Germany. Yeah, and with we talk, I'm sure he'll probably want to go out the door in a minute. Rue, gifting 5 memberships. Rue, you legend. Everyone a warm round of applause for Big Bad Boy Rue for gifting 5 memberships, particularly if you've just been gifted a membership. How old is P90 now, Mick the Machine? He's about 15 or 16, somewhere around there. He's getting on a bit. He is getting on. He's getting louder in his old age as well. He's a shouty kitty. He's a loud pussy. But yeah, if you do get gifted a membership from Rue, make sure you say thank you to him. And if everyone could give a warm round of applause for Rue as well, that would be lovely. If you are gifted, Mick the Machine gifting another 5 memberships. Choo choo goes the train. Thank you, Mick the Machine. 10 gifted memberships. I haven't even started talking about the Necrons yet. I've just been crying about Admech. Thank you guys. Very generous. So yes. And Andy H has been a member for 12 months. Gratuitous pussy shot. Yeah, I know. But yeah, if you get a membership, make sure you thank Rue or Mick, and thank you. The memberships on the YouTube, what it does is I can't find a way to not do it. It automatically does it. So there's 3 tiers. Well, there's 4 tiers, but there's 3 tiers of membership. The first one is you get the emojis, you get the stamps, you get the things like. So you can show that you're a member of the fleet, your loyalty badges, all that sort of stuff. Nice. Second level, which is the one that you've just been gifted, if anyone's been gifted, is that's tier 2. That gets access to my Discord. So make sure you jump in the Discord tonight. Say hello to people. It's a pretty active Discord. They'll be chatting away to you, and they'll be asking for your pic. Put your pictures in the picture thing. Talk about your games in the community chat thing. Don't forget to hit the like button. Some said go for it painting. Thank you. But yeah, when you jump in the Discord at tier 2, say hello to everyone. Tier 3 is the one which is £1 more. That unlocks an extra battle report every single Winter's Wednesday. And I wish I could find a way. I even got the Tech Priest Goddess, otherwise known as the Domestic Authority, to have a fingering with the old YouTubes to see if we could set it at that level rather than the tier 2 level, but I can't find a way. Technically, YouTube memberships are still in beta test. Beta? It's still a thing. So maybe when it goes to alpha testing, alpha's before beta, so alpha probably, I don't do tech. Maybe when it's no longer in testing, maybe then I could set it at tier 3 rather than tier 2 manually, because then it'd be great that people get videos as well. But thank you to Rue, thank you to Make the Machine, gifting some memberships. Jump in the community, in the Discord, people. Say hi. It's pretty active. They'd love to chat to you. Alpha first, then beta test. But you'd think it would go like Delta, Charlie, Beta, Alpha is almost ready, and then boom, and then you've got whatever comes after. You think it would go that way, right? Yeah. And Simply Warhammer gifted 5 memberships just there. Just turn to look at the screen. Thank you, guys. It made me blush. Thank you, Andy. Everyone, just big round of applause for the community this evening. Thank you. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Rue. Thank you, Andy H. Oh, I can do this job for a bit longer now. Been doing it 9 years. It'll be 10 years in August. And 10 years. Well, I've been doing it full time for like 2.5 years now. So maybe I could do it for 2.5 years more. Brilliant stuff. I mean, you warm the cockles of me heart. For Americans, that's warm the stones in my bum. Merry early Christmas. Thank you. It's the Greek alphabet. It starts with alpha and ends with omega, like Alpharius and Omegon. People who are gifted can pay £1 to upgrade, though. Worth a quid to try your membership videos. I do. Thank you, Dats and Des. I think so too. There's one coming out tomorrow where the end of all things, this is for members, take on the Emperor's Children, and it's not 30k, it's actually 40k Emperor's Children. Pink on green, chaos on chaos action. I really should have filmed a Necron battle report, but I'd only recently got back from my holiday. This is literally a couple of days ago. And hadn't really got my head around the thing yet. Thanks for your translating from British to American. No problem, friendly neighborhood Inquisitor. Big Rick Shazam, yeah, Big Rick Shazam, the cameraman. Came down, and the end of all things versus his Emperor's Children. You played him on Sunday, did you? Nice. Did he mention? I think he mentioned that he had a game on Sunday. He mentioned he played you after he played me. He mentioned that he was having a game on Sunday, right? Do I have many tournaments coming up this year? Tabletop Chronicles. No, there's only like a month left. No. Thank you, Victor. Are there any plans for 10th Ed narrative campaign or Horus Heresy? There is plans for a 10th Ed campaign, not necessarily narrative. I'm working out the details with Sultan. That's a couple of months away yet, so there's going to be a campaign. And Horus Heresy, we're definitely going to be linking some games together on Isfan 3 soon. Soon. Yes is the answer. When and how and who and why, I'm looking at calendars. See, the thing is it all depends on, my whole thing depends on you you in the chat, you and the members, you liking, subscribing, you becoming, and you, some of you coming here. I meet strange men off the internet and they come round to my house and play with me. It's a formula that's worked. Ginger Steve has become a mega member. Okay, there's a tier 4. There's mega members, and that's just for people who are awesome. So thank you, Ginger Steve. And if you're interested at, what do you get if you're tier 4? You get an extra little thing in the Discord, like a room where all the people who drive limousines and fly business class, they're there. That's the bet. So thank you, Ginger Steve. Is 10th ed better for narrative or 9th? 10th is better for narrative. There's more flexibility. So the rule of 3, that you can pick 3 of anything. In 9th edition, if you wanted to bring a whole bike list, or you wanted to bring a whole Terminator list, or you wanted to bring a whole tank list, there was restrictions on that because of 3 heavies, 3 fast, 3 elites. There was restrictions on the types of armies that you could build. Some of the codexes had ways to get around it. But in this edition, because you can pick 3 of anything, you can pick a whole army with heavies in it. You can have three of these tanks, 3 of these tanks, 3 super heavy tanks, 3 Hellhound tanks, 3 Basilisk. You can bring a whole armor treadhead list if you want to. You can bring a whole, I mean, what is it? One of their data sheets, one of the data things in the Space Marine Codex is the First Company one, where you just bring all First Company, Sternguard, Vanguard, Terminators, things like that. So just purely from a army composition point of view, I feel like if you and your group were very narratively minded and don't care about the Leviathan mission deck and don't care about competing to win anything, instead were trying to build some stories, there's a lot more flexibility in the way that you can build armies now than ever before, in fact. So from that point of view, 10th is more narrative. The missions themselves, I mean, if you're playing narrative, then you don't play the missions that Games Workshop set you. You never would have played the ones in the book. You wouldn't play Maelstrom of War, and you certainly wouldn't play the Leviathan mission deck now. You'd make up your own stories. You'd make up attack, defend. You'd make up War of Lies type missions, line breaker missions, things like that. Or even catching a cat. You do things like that if you're interested. So Sultan, with Sultan, yes, the campaign would be Sultan. We could be fighting anything, yes, but let's face it, it's Sultan. It's going to be Space Marines. We'd like to get some Legion Imperialis content, like a raw review or something. Yeah, that'd be nice. Legion Imperialis. So there will be some Legion Imperialis coming to the channel. I am not a studio. I am me. Hi. And you are you. And we're together making this beautiful content. And thank you, Jean Bata, for the donation. Thank you so much. For the lion. Thank you for always being awesome. You're awesome, Jean. Thank you, Jean. Bata. You're probably Jean. That's French. So, yeah, Legion Imperialis. I'm just me, so I can't at the time. Like, how do I get together a whole 2 things and paint and get it set up and read the rules and do that? It's all been outsourced to some of the unpaid interns that you see on the channel rather regularly. The people who've been coming around again and again and again. It's all been outsourced to them. There's a couple of them who are really super keen, and they're working on getting the armies together and working out all the rules and things. When I did the Necromunda campaign, I think the Necromunda campaigns are still there available for members. I think so. Someone in the chat will let me know. Chat, are they still in mega members for the people who... Yeah. Where was I? Yeah, so the Necron thing, Necromunda campaigns that I have done, I didn't have to learn the rules for. All I had to do was simply get in a room with a couple of people who knew what the hell they were doing with gorgeous armies, and they knew all the rules, and they played the game, and I narrated the shit out of it and had a great time. Some of the most fun that I have, actually, because I play all the time and I love playing. I had a couple of games this weekend. It was absolutely gorgeous. No complaints with that, but it's kind of different. It's kind of unique for me when there's an extra person in the room and 2 people are playing each other. and I get to tell that story and take the piss out of both of them instead of just one of them. So it's really good fun for me. Like the Hobby Apocalypse videos when there's 4 of us in a room, well, 5 of us in a room, 4 of them playing and me filming. So the Legion, the Necromunda stuff where there were people playing each other and I was filming and learning the rules and finding out what, that was fun. And I also got to tweak some of the bits here or there and mess with them a little bit. And I'm sure I'll do the same in the Legion Imperialis stuff, probably best with the mission or deployment or something. Once we've got it down, I'll probably throw a couple of sticks in the wheels, in the spokes, so they fall off the bike. And yes. When will the Titans next be on the... I don't know. Winters, sorry I'm late, you're the greatest. Oh, thank you, your average paramedic. You're outsourcing all of your playtime. It's outsourcing some playtime is very refreshing. It's just, look, what's better than a bunch of friends together in a room, rolling dice and playing 40k or Necromunda or Legion Imperial or something, playing a game, playing Monopoly, playing Naked Twister, smothered up in peanut butter with half a Pinot Noir. You know, that's a Thursday evening right there. Naked Twister, jelly probably better than peanut butter. Yeah, I'll go with green jelly. Jean Bata, another donation. Thank you. Your 9th Deathwing list coming back on 10th. So, yes, that's a good question, Jean Bata. Thank you for your donation. The 9th edition Deathwing list that I had was bang on 2,000 points. And then 10th edition came out, and it's about 1,500 points. I think I can stick the Lion in it and get it up to 2,000, I think. And I've got the Lion and your average paramedic. Thank you for becoming a Tier 3 channel member. Welcome to the 13th Fleet, my friend. You'll get an extra battle report every single Winter's Wednesday. You're a legend. Thank you so much. Oh, I'm overcome with kindness this evening. Thank you. So yeah, the Den of Imagination did awesome work on that, on the Deathwing. I don't know if there is enough of them because it was built for a tournament. It was built with tournaments in mind. With the Lion in there, might be enough points there. I do have an intention. This is not a plan. I'm not promising anything, but I do have an intent. I've always wanted to and will at the moment. Den of Imagination currently working on a couple of other things for me. Once all that's done, I've got in my brain what I need to do is expand the Dark Angels. What I want to do is, because I've already got Space Marines, the 13th, obviously. What I want to do is add to the Dark Angels a lot of the stuff that I don't have for the 13th. So a lot of the new Primera stuff, like there's a lot of the Gravis stuff and the, what is the one? Recon armor that they wear. A lot of that. A lot of the... Anyway, there's a chunk of the new range that I don't currently own. And wouldn't it be good if they were in the Den of Imagination paint scheme? And then I could play them either as Dark Angels or as Space Marines, depending on what I'm feeling at the time, and depending whether the codexes are any good. And yeah, there'll be a flexible friend. Phobos, thank you, really evil genius. Phobos, yeah, I'm not sure if I own any Phobos stuff. And as for Gravis stuff, are you still there? He's still there. I think I only own Jumpy Dudes Gravis stuff. Oh no, I own Aggressors as well, but you've got the heavy Intercessors. There's some of the new... Anyway, yeah. So, Blade Guard. I don't have any Blade Guard. It's Nurgle's Boys tomorrow. Yes. Right, so we're going to dive in to the new Necron book. How are the Horus Heresy Death Guard? No plans to play in the studio in Liam's thing. How are the death? They're lovely. There's a battle report this Sunday. I think there was another one. No, there's just one for now. They're lovely too. So we're going to dive into the Necron book. I want to talk about some stuff. So, five things. The first one, Awakened Dynasty. We know what that one does when you attach a lord to a thing. The Lord becomes... If someone could afterwards pin this in the comment section, like, hey, he actually starts talking about Necrons at 26 minutes and 50 seconds. That'd be lovely. Thank you. Breathe in between sentences. We know what this one does. Annihilation Legion is, do you want your Necrons to be World Eaters? Do you want close combat Necrons? I never thought I wanted close combat Necrons. I thought Necrons in close combat were, well, you got some Scorpec stuff, and then there's a couple of the other units which are fairly okay, but they're not a close combat army. They're a horde army, or they're a elite-based army. But do you want close combat Necrons? You can do the Annihilation Legion. You can have close combat. You can have World Eater Necrons. Because what this does is, any destroyer cult or flayed one unit from your army declares a charge, you can re-roll charges. And when you target a unit that's below half strength, add one to the charge roll as well. So that isn't going to happen very often, adding one to the charge roll below half strength, adding one to the charge. But you've got re-roll charges for destroyers and flayed ones. So these aren't Lockhurst destroyers. You're going to have units of Scorpec destroyers walking around with their big scythes. You can have Ophidian destroyers flying around they're pretty quick, and you can have flayed ones re-rolling charges all the time. That's nice, having your entire army. Well, not your entire army. See, I mean, at the moment, for example, I can field 2 full units of Scorpec destroyers with a Scorpec destroyer lord each. Boom, done. I can field 2 full units of Ophidian destroyers. Boom, done. And I've got more flayed ones painted than you can legally field now, unless the unit size went up. Let me check, because they changed them to max 10-man squads, and I've got like 60 of the buggers. 60 of the buggers. Please say they've gone back up to 20 again. Flayed ones. 5 to 10 flayed ones. So I can field 30 flayed ones, 12 Ophidian destroyers, 10 Scorpec destroyers. I have them charging up the table with re-rolling charges all the time. And what you would do is, behind that is, you just bring some guns laying down the hate, and the stratagems in the Annihilation Legion thing are quite good. So there's, if you're one destroyer cult or flayed ones in your opponent's shooting phase, you can just give them -1 to hit. This is good, getting your units up the board. And there's another one as well, which is they can't be targeted. Or is that another one? Oh no, that was in another thing. So one is -1 to hit as they're moving up the board, and another one is like the Blood Surge, which is why I think of World Eaters, which is after they get shot, if you remove a model, if someone dies, then they surge forward. They can make but the Blood Surge thing that World Eaters has, it's so you shoot a unit of World Eaters, one of them dies, and then they move forward d6 inches. And then you shoot another one of them dies, they move forward d6 inches. This is the strat, so you can only do it once. So you shoot one of them, you shoot a unit, you kill one of them, but it's not d6 inches, it's may make a full normal move. And it doesn't as close as possible to that enemy unit. And making a normal move, the Ophidian destroyers move 12. Scorpec destroyers move 8. Flayed ones move, they used to move 6. Checking the flayed ones. Wait, 1. Flayed ones move 5. Not the flayed ones. But having suddenly being able to move that far, and does it say up to? May make a normal, but must end that move as close as possible to that enemy unit. Doesn't say it. Obviously, the Blood Surge one allows you to get within engagement range, but this one just says it must end that move as close as possible to the enemy unit. Doesn't say anything about getting within engagement range, so you'd have to follow the normal rules for movement, which means you can't get within engagement range. But so you've got one to help protect you, -1 to hit as you move up the board, and one that allows you to move further up the board as stuff gets hit. And you've got reroll charges as you move up the board. This is a very interesting one. Like I said, I didn't know that I needed close combat Necrons in my life, but I feel like I do need it now. And then the other, and I'm an interested player, and then the other strats are all relatively useful. I mean, you can activate your reanimation protocols. They've all got, like Armor of Contempt. All the Space Marines have got Armor of Contempt, Armor of Contempt, Armor of Contempt. I feel like everyone in here, or almost every single one of the detachments, has got a rule which allows you to activate reanimation protocols mid-thing. So there's 3 of the 6 of the stratagems, but the other ones are like in your shooting phase or fight phase. You can add one to hit roll, add one to wound roll. You can pile in 6 inches instead of 3 inches. And then the other one you can do some mortal wounds. So it's all connected with moving up quicker and hitting stuff on the way up and it's interesting. It's very interesting. Yeah. Evening, Sarah. Thank you for joining in, Sarah. Hello. We're talking about the Necron Codex. Thanks for joining. I'm taking a time out after that mad rant to see if anyone's written anything interesting at all. Chat, have you written anything interesting? I feel the Canoptek Court and the Hypercrypt Legion are going to be the frequent guests in the Shattered Dynasty Strategist. Yeah, well, see, those two as well. We'll get on to the Canoptek Court and the Hypercrypt Legion because both of them are very interesting. And I think the Hypercrypt Legion is going to be the go-to one for tournament play. And because there's a lot of shenanigans you can pull off in it, and you really need some monoliths, and I've got two. And that's what I felt. But close combat Necrons, come on now. Let's give it a go. It might be terrible, but let's give it a go a few times. Also, the unit must move as close as possible, not models, so you can pull off some weird janky moves and snag objectives. Yes, you can. Yeah, you can. My lad normally runs his crons as close combat. And they always manage to tear my armies apart. Mick the Machine, you're in for a bad time then. If he's running them as close combat and he's got Ophidian Destroyers or Scorpic Destroyers or Flayed ones, then he's going to be doing more of this. And if he's just got Scorpic Destroyers, then he's going to want some Ophidian Destroyers or Flayed ones for Christmas, which is coming around very soon. And can I just say that the Flayed ones kit, the plastic Flayed ones kit, is the easiest and simplest and non-spikiest, most beautiful kit to put together ever. It's just it's a piece of art, that kit. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that kit. And it didn't want me to make me scream or pull my hair out at all while I was building them. And I certainly didn't snap hundreds of little Necron bodies while I was it wasn't annoying at all. I like the idea that Necrons have tools for close combat, a relentless march of robots that will get you to your front line, into your front line eventually. Jink. Yeah. Yeah. Well, see, the Scorpics aren't that slow, and Ophidians aren't that slow. So this isn't such a relentless thing. This is more like a fast, up in your face thing. And Flayed ones can infiltrate as well. So this is World Eaters Necrons. You're supposed to use this and reroll charges. You're supposed to use this to get up there quickly and get in amongst the lines quickly. How good they're going to be once they're in amongst the lines, we will see. One of the changes they did make to the Scorpic, though, because everyone's got some Scorpics, right? And for those that don't know which ones are the Scorpic ones, they're the ones with the big choppy things. You know, the Scorpic Lord looks like that. Have I got that in the camera? There's the Scorpic Lord. They reroll hit rolls on 1 now. All the time. So they're definitely going to be a lot choppier. The Ophidians don't know, which is annoying. Because they really need it. Whirling Onslaught. Whirling Onslaught used to be you never suffer any modifiers to your ballistic skill, weapon skill, blah, blah, blah. But now Whirling Onslaught is each time a model of this unit makes a melee attack, reroll a hit roll of 1. If this unit made a charge move this turn, reroll all hit rolls. So they're going to be pretty good. So you're going to want 2 units of them with a Scorpic Destroyer Lord charging up the table with his 4-up invulnerable save going, hello! And hopefully they won't get shot off the board. The Ophidian Destroyers do not have reroll hit rolls of 1 or reroll all hit rolls. They have tunneling horrors. They can go back down underground and pop up again. They're only strength 4 minus 2 damage. They have got 5 attacks each. And I think they had 5 attacks each last time. They got 5 attacks each, but strength 4 minus 2 damage. But like I said, there's strats in this detachment which get you pluses to wound and pluses to AP. So Ophidian Destroyers could be a thing, particularly if you shoot at them and you lose one of them and then they move forward again. It's close combat Necrons. I'm looking forward to getting them on the channel. I'm actually playing tomorrow against Badger King. We're not doing Necrons because we planned it way back. And he's bringing Magnus the Red and a Knight and 2,000 points of Thousand Suns. And I'm bringing Mortarion and a Knight and 2,000 points worth of Death Guard. I just did a Chaos and Chaos thing with the Emperor's Children, which is coming out tomorrow for members, Winter's Wednesday. And this is another Chaos and Chaos thing. But Death Guard versus Thousand Suns. We'll find out who the better Legion is. So I'm not playing Necrons tomorrow, but at the weekend, I've also got some fights booked in. So that's probably when I'll first start recording my first few Necron things, because I didn't do it beforehand. If you weren't here at the start of the stream, I've been on holiday. Holiday. To the 500 worlds. I like Ophidians to be more choppy and less squishy. Yeah, I know. They're toughness 5 now, and they're still toughness 5, because they were toughness 4 with a 4-up save. Now they're toughness 5 with a 4-up save, but the 4-up save hurts them. Without an invulnerable save as well, it hurts them. Particularly as they were the same cost as the Scorpex. I haven't bothered checking the points, because all the points are going to change in a couple of weeks anyway when the new balanced data slate comes out. There's going to be a balanced data slate before Christmas, and all the points are changing. You know, like when they released the Space Marine Codex, and then all the points changed like a week later or something. Same thing's going to be happening. The Necrons. But at least these days, at least they own it. They say, look, here's the points. You can use these points if you're little Timmy and you're new on the hobby, or if you only play 2 or 3 times a year, or once every other month. You can just use these points here. It's fine. But if you want to scan the thing to get the most up-to-date points, scan the thing, get the most up-to-date points. This is a nice addition in the codexes. It's fair enough. It'd be nice if they wrote an edition where the points stayed the points and never changed for the 3 years. But that, yeah. I mean, impossible, right? Who could possibly do that? Badger King is in the chat. Yeah, baby. Spoiler, it's Magnus. No. Badger King, I'm playing you tomorrow. See, this is how disorganized I am. I haven't even, the room next door is still set up from the other fight. After this, I'll have a lovely cup of tea and probably some biscuits, maybe some bourbons. I haven't got any hobnobs at the moment, custard creams or something. Go next door, break down that table, set up the table for tomorrow, write a list for tomorrow. That'll get me to about 10, half 10 at night. And then go to bed, wake up, and you'll be here with your big smiling face and your Magnus, who did plenty wrong with his knight, with his 2,000 points, 1,000 suns, and get your ass kicked. Get your ass handed to you, son. And we'll have a lot of fun and laughter along the way, and maybe drink a cup of tea. I'm quite looking forward to it. I didn't realise it was a 2-week pre-order. Is it? I was so excited to play Necrons this Saturday, and now I feel like I've been blue-balled. Is it 2-week pre-order? It's probably 2-week pre-order, because that's when the balanced data sheet comes out for the points changes, probably. I don't know. They probably sent me an email about it at some point, but there's so much coming out from Games Workshop at the moment, and I was on holiday. It's all gone over my head. So there's probably been a 2 weeks thing, because when the codex comes out, the points in the codex would have been changed. They want to make sure that you can click on the thing straight away to get the new points. Oh dear. There would be a day 1 match play point update anyway. Yeah. Seem to think all pre-orders are 2 weeks now. Are they? I'm not sure. Maybe all the pre-orders will be 2 weeks now. Maybe it's just some of their supply things. I mean, Games Workshop have been going through quite a few changes and having quite a few supply issues in the last, let's say, I want to say a short period of time. It doesn't seem like they've been having supply issues for much longer than a decade. And then they've been trying to do the new website. They've been literally building that for the last 5 years, after sacking the first lot of people about 2 years ago because they were delivering something that they didn't really want to deliver. They said, no, we sacked you. And they brought in a whole new bunch of people to design their whole new website, which is now up. And I'm sure you've all had the misfortune of trying to navigate. Imagine how bad the previous one was. If they got rid of the people who were putting together the previous one after spending 1.8 million to get in some new people to build a whole new website. The whole thing, apparently, the reason why they've done a whole new website from the ground up and is because their sales databases were not linked to their invoice or stock or tax databases. So they literally had to have little Timmy go around with a pen and paper to count how many boxes of Land Raiders were in stock and how many boxes of dice were in stock and how many. They literally had to go around like that because the systems didn't talk to each other. And one of their big, because you read this in the investor report, one of the big motivations for getting a whole new website, and the reason why it's been 5 years in the making, is because it talks to the other systems on the Golden Throne. And so they can figure out how much they've got and where they've got it, apparently. And so we've got this wonderful website. Has anyone tried the new website? Does anyone like the new website, by the way? I like the look of it, and it looks okay on the PC. It looks okay on the PC. On your phone, and try to actually navigate it, like with the drop-down thing beforehand, you would get into Space Marines and you could go down to Raven Guard and then you could go to Raven Guard and then you could click on the thing, particularly if you're trying to navigate some of the Forge World stuff, which doesn't exist anymore. It was easy to go back and forward and find other bits connected to the search that you want to get. But now, it's... so if I was looking for a Forge World thing, it would drop you into this gutter, into this oubliette from the labyrinth. It'd drop you down in there and there'd be talking hands talking and telling you, name that film. And then you have to climb back out of the oubliette and go left or right to go back into the other thing because you were looking at shoulder pads over on the left. And it's just... honestly, it's like Jumanji or some shit. So we've got a pile of poo, we've got negative, it's rubbish, it's awful. It's shite. The old one was much better. The new website is so bad. You can fit like 3 things on the screen at a time. The new website feels like it was done by a few interns with minimal time. Like this was an early version. And upper management, great! Push it live. Yeah, that looks cool. Upper management, yeah. Hey, that looks shiny. Yeah, upper management probably thought it looks good. Look at that website. It looks so good. It does look good. Like if you show someone who's a normie or someone who's not connected to the hobby, or I occasionally flash at my wife some things that I found online, beautiful things that I find online that I really have to flash at my wife, like, look at this gorgeous model. And she'll like, ugh. But when I flash them on the new thing, it looks shiny to someone who has got no idea and has never tried to navigate actually buying something. See, and that sounds like a definition of the upper management at Games Workshop, right? I mean, these guys up there, they're either fresh out of university or they're from the games industry, as in the video games industry, or they've come over from Hasbro and other toy industries like that with their MBEs and their bachelorette degrees from Salford University, and they did some other, and they get in there and they think they know about how to manage a business, a toy business, a gaming business. But the thing about Games Workshop is it's not a normal toy business or it's not a normal gaming business. It's a thing in itself. It's in the hobby space industry where we all reside, in the hobby space industry, the same as World War II planes, the same as battleships, the same as, I don't know, knitting, sewing, fishing. It's in this kind of, maybe not fishing, but it's in this hobby collectible type industry. And it sits way above all the other. It was a niche industry. It always has been a niche industry, and all of a sudden it's gone a bit mainstream in the last decade or so. And it's got pretty big, and it's pretty well known, and you've got big computer games, and you've got big IPs like Total War, like Dawn of War, like Space Marines, like you've got Henry Cavill talking about it. It's been around for long enough that it's now become clearly the oversized Ogren in the room of all the modeling, building, hobbying space. It's that niche space. And it's not recyclable like playing Call of Duty, Fortnite, Apex. It's not recyclable like that. It's not recyclable like buying a set of Lego or buying some Hasbro kit or buying some Scale Electrics it's not like that. It's a hobby. It's when you get a thing you get a thing because either it looks absolutely gorgeous, or because of the lore, or because of the painting, or there's lots of reasons why people buy their things, normally because of playing or painting reasons. Then you have to assemble it, and then you have to paint it, and then you have to and then we're all collectibles. We're all collectors first, right? We all collect this stuff before we even think about putting it on a tabletop. And then if you want to put it on the tabletop, you've got to get a tabletop, you've got to get a friend, you've got to put some scenery down. It can be some rocks from the garden and a dead cat. It can be whatever you want, but you've got to make that happen. Then you've got to make some time, and you've got to read the rules, and you've got to know the rules, sort of, and get someone round, and then open up the beer and the pretzels. There's a process to it. One of the biggest things that we lose in this hobby is time. We lose so much time. It costs a lot of time. It's not disposable like video games, and it's not disposable like disposable toys that come and come and come and come. It's a hobby niche thing. So the mindset behind many of the people who are in this hobby is different from, and your motivations and your reasons for being in the hobby are different for other hobbies and other. I mean, am I onto something here, guys? Am I onto something here? And then you get all these upper management from all these other things, and they think they know best, and they think they know how this thing should run and how this thing should function, but they don't know because they're not hobbyists themselves. As far as I can tell from my interactions with Games Workshop over the years, and from my interactions with the store managers, and you guys telling me, and you guys giving me feedback, and I'm fortunate enough to be in this massive community where I get a lot of feedback, is that most of the frontline staff, nearly all of the frontline staff, love the hobby. Most of the store managers and the people who work love the hobby. Most of the people that you meet when you go to Warhammer World or to an event love the hobby and play the hobby and are in the hobby. A lot of the people that I've spoken to that actually work in the factory and behind the scenes and that, they love it as well. And half of them are in that position because Games Workshop gives them like 40% off or something. It gives them a good chunk, sells them. They can buy their hobby materials at cost from Games Workshop, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but it's something like that. And then there is a massive disconnect between that and the people who manage them. And we're getting the windows opened and the doors blown off when ex-GW employees are telling us stories and telling us stories and telling the Painting Phase YouTube channel. Shout out to the Painting Phase. Those guys on there, check out the Painting Phase YouTube channel. They've got loads of behind the scenes goodies and nuggets from what it's like to either work in Games Workshop or stories from behind the scenes in Games Workshop. And just lots of the things, lots of the little anecdotes that I hear and listen to on the Painting Phase are ringing a lot of bells for me, having worked in a crappy company for a very, very long time. I did 20 years in a factory. It resonates. Some of the stories resonate for me, thinking it must be a terrible place to work. There's certain, as soon as you get to a certain level, it must be. Anyway, thanks for coming along. This is probably the last Games Workshop video I'll ever make, because someone will send this to someone somewhere, and I might not. Well, it won't be the last Games Workshop video I'll ever make, but it'll probably be the last time they send me free shit. We'll see. We shall see. What is my PC doing? Go away. No, they don't care. They don't care. They don't care what I say. They don't care. They're not connected to the hobby. They don't even know who I am, the upper management. They just think that they know how the games industry works, or they let the figures tell them, we sell them out of this and we do this. This is one of the reasons why I'm going to finish the rant and actually get to the chat in a minute. This is one of the reasons why they're never really interested in fixing the game. And when I say they, I mean upper management. Everyone's got a good idea of what Warhammer 40k could be if they focused on it and turned it into the best possible version of what it could be. And I get 101 people in the chat room. 101, nice. If we get all together in a room and discussed it, yes, of course, there'll be 101 different ideas, but there'll also be a consensus around a nugget or two. And from what I can tell from the community, the general consensus around most people is slow down the release schedule, make this a slow burn, longer thing, and that is kryptonite to anyone in upper management. But if they did slow down the release schedule, and we could talk about how and why and how slow and what and where, but it's too fast. Everyone, that's one thing they could do. The other thing they could do is make sure that there is a really solid casual game, because most of the people who play the game are casual. So make sure, I mean, the current rule system is absolutely fine, but there needs to be a good, there's some trimming of the fat that they could do there, get rid of devastating wounds. There's a couple of things that we could all argue about to trim away a bit of the current rule set. But 8th, 9th, 10th edition rule set is a lot more accessible. So that version of the rules trimmed a bit with multiple ways to play for casual gamers. Look after your casual gamers, slow down the release schedule, and then have a separate tournament play book which comes out every 6 months with your 6 monthly seasons or your 12 monthly seasons or whatever, and then have that as a separate thing and have that fully supported and have that fully done. And I think we can all agree that that's pretty much a good recipe for success. And on top of that, you balance the game. If there's a slower release schedule, then you can, and with less rules, interactions, like 8th edition, for example, like every single data sheet in here has its own rules. And then you've got all the individual stratagems which affect all the individual. The start of 8th edition, there was a lot less rules. So there was a lot less rules interaction. So there was a lot less balancing to be had. And early 8th edition, the first year or so, on the tournament scene, it was the closest ever gap between the top army and the bottom army. So it was the most balanced edition as well. So balance, slower release schedule, solid balance, slower release schedule, and a solid, well-supported, separate tournament pack thing for those who are tournament minded. And at the same time, you could also have your separate narrative packs for those people who are narratively minded. I think that core, that would help the gaming experience for most people and would bring more people back into the hobby and retain more people in the hobby, because people come, people get burnt out, people go, and we retain more people in the hobby. The current burn that they have at the moment shows they don't care at the upper level of management. And the reason why they don't care is because they'll release this edition, and then in a year's time or something or other, they'll release they'll release Sigmar, and then you'll have old world releases coming out. Then you'll have Horus Heresy re-releases. All they have to do is make sure that Warhammer 40k re-releases every 3 years, reset every 3 years, reset here, reset here, reset here. And in between these resets, reset Sigmar, reset Sigmar, reset Sigmar. And in between them, either release new games or reset other games. All the other games have got Necromunda, Kill Team, Blood Bowl, Heresy, Old World. Have this. So the short-termist thing, like, okay, we've released 40k, we get a nice big spike, it starts dropping off, and then Legion Imperialis comes out, and boom, we get another big spike, and and then Age of Sigmar, squishy bum release comes out, and everyone at Sigmar players are like, have you seen the squishy bum release with the new book and the new minis and the new? They all go. You just got to keep that thing going, and hopefully they're up there thinking, well, if the community are asking too many questions or if we're getting too many complaints, we don't care. Just consume the product that we're feeding you, and then move on to the next product. And then consume that product that they feed you, and then move on to the next product. And that's what video game release does. That's what Marvel does. That's what most big companies do. And Games Workshop is the big company, the big daddy in the room when it comes to this hobby space. Just release. They don't care. They don't care about the long term. They're not obliged to take a long term view of our hobby, Warhammer 40k. They don't need to. Even if that would be better for the game, better for the community, and better for the long-term health of 40k, because they're not just interested in 40k, they're interested in the whole business cycle itself. Consume the next product. And bottom line, the IP is worth more than the physical business now. The IP value, games like Darktide, Space Marine, Total War, Dawn, all those other things, the mobile games, the IP value in Games Workshop in Warhammer 40k is worth more anyway. So Warhammer 40k, which used to take up a massive part of the overall income, that massive part has been reduced over time. That's my take on it anyway. What do you guys think? I've been ranting for a while. Let me read the comment section. Aqua. Fill up on Aqua, people. Keep your things up. You're put in charge of the combat patrol making team. What do you put in your ideal Space Marine combat patrol? I don't know. My brain isn't there. I have no idea. That's what America does. Shareholders want results. Yes, exactly. Badger King. Sales are results. Each month must be better than the previous. It's the corporate way, sadly. Yes. I think it's actually legally... isn't it? The board of directors are legally obliged to try and maximize the share. There's some legalese about trying to maximize and make sure return for share value. Otherwise, the shareholders can vote them off the board and put new people on the board. And if you are found legally to take actions which purposely tank your share value, you can be sued by the shareholders. I think there's laws. So what are we? And balance the miniature department too. I don't want to see a Space Marine arm. Yeah, there's a balance. Yeah, more diversity when it comes to the miniature range. So it's less than all about Space Marines, more about They need a bits department as well that sell bits. Even though the margins and the overheads on bits is tiny, and they've got all these third-party people looking after bits and 3D printers and for them. And as far as they're concerned, well, if people want las cannons, or people want different helmets, or people want, they can go here, there, and everywhere. And those companies wouldn't exist without Games Workshop. If they did it the more people that they push to the hands of third-party suppliers or 3D printing, it's a slide. You lose those customers, and they start relying on those services more and more. So you end up losing money over time. It's again that slow decline in overall. A bits department would stop some people leaching away into other. Look, for example, I don't 3D print, and I've never used 3D, but I have friends who do, and I used to buy extra bits here, there, and everywhere and stick them, and that's what I used to do. But now I can ask friends to 3D print some stuff, send it to me, so I'm not buying extra kits for the bits that I want anymore. I'm just asking friends, can you print this out for me? Can you do this for me? And they do. So that's lost money, and that across the board. There's a thing there. I just feel like it's like air going out of a balloon when you give up and say, well, the margins on that kind of business are tiny, so we're not going to pursue that tiny kind of business. We'll let that air escape, but that air never comes back, Reminds me of what Iger said about Disney in the 80s. We have no obligations to make art a statement or history. Money is our only objective. Yeah. It should be all about orcs, because green is the best. Yeah. Let's looking up here. Sir Dragon says, do you think that upper management know it's a game? Probably not. Anyway, Any more questions on that rant before we dive back into the Necron Codex? I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to throw some ideas at me. See if we can keep this. Do you want this conversation to keep going, or are we going to dive back into the Necron book? Someone already, by the way, has put their hand up to pin when I started talking about the Necron book. When we start talking about the Necron book again, pin the idea in. Pin the, hey, he starts talking about it again at this point. The Forge World stuff, that feels a step too far a lot of the time. A pack of heads for my Legion shouldn't cost the same. Yeah, just Craig. Yeah, the Forge World stuff is, well, yeah. Yeah, the bits is, they've never got their head properly around bits, right? What they could do is just add more stuff to the sprue. So when they're designing stuff, so for example, you talk about heads, instead of having 10 heads on those 10 Space Marines, say that sprue of Space Marines that you got had 30 heads in it. It's just, I mean, once that mold is made, it's got, and you can use loads of different types of head. If there was more options on the sprues for us as collectors, for us as hobbyists, and we're talking about aesthetic changes here, not like changing this gun into a las cannon or anything, but just aesthetic changes in the things, then again, that would reduce the amount of third-party seller, the amount of lost profit to third-party sellers and 3D printers. There's ways around it. There's ways to mitigate it, but they're not interested in mitigating it at all. Right, I'm going to dive into the Necron thing. And okay, Canoptek Court. Excited for the Canoptek Court. So the way this works is there's a power matrix, right? And your deployment zone is always your power matrix. And when you're in your power matrix, you reroll hit rolls of 1. Oh, sorry, tell a lie. The Canoptek Court. So Canoptics is your spiders, your wraiths, your scarabs, your Canoptek Doomstalkers. Remember that one. And your Canoptek Reanimators and stuff like this. They're always re-rolling hit rolls of 1. So Canoptek Wraiths now re-rolling hit rolls of 1. And if you're in your power matrix, you're re-rolling all hits. And your power matrix is your deployment zone. So if the Canoptek Doomstalkers stood in the deployment zone, they're re-rolling hits all the time. And they're like 60 points cheaper than a Doomsday Arc. A Doomsday Arc puts down 4 damage, a flat 4 damage with each shot. And they do D6 plus 1 shot or something. Or they do many shots, 4 damage a time. Doomstalkers do many shots, 3 damage a time. But you're re-rolling all hits for half the money, for a third of the money. That sounds crazy good to me. That sounds like a reason to put Canoptek Doomstalkers back in the army. Re-rolling all hits all the time. And then your rest of your army outside of its power matrix, outside of your deployment zone, is re-rolling hit rolls of 1. Now, if you control more objectives in no man's land, then your opponent, that becomes your power matrix as well. And if you control more objectives in your opponent's deployment zone than they control, then that becomes your power matrix as well. So as well as re-rolling all hit rolls in your own deployment zone, there are opportunities as the game goes on to re-roll all hit rolls either in no man's land or your opponent's deployment zone as well. But I wouldn't count on that. It's a thing that will happen from time to time as you play a game. You might play a whole game and never get it except for outside your deployment zone. Or you might get it for 1 turn outside of your deployment zone. But still, the fact that you can reroll hit rolls of 1 all the time anyway is awesome. And where are we? At the start of any phase, if you control more objectives in no man's land or in your opponent's turn, in your opponent's deployment zone, at the start of any phase where you're on more objectives than your opponent in those zones, then you re-roll all hit rolls. So it could be in your opponent's turn. Your opponent could be on 2 out of 3 of the objectives in no man's land, goes rushing off on this one over here while holding on to this one over here and moving around. And then all of a sudden, in your opponent's turn, when they charge you, you could find yourself on more objectives than them in the middle of the battle grid, and suddenly your wraiths are re-rolling all hit rolls. So it happens in any phase, whenever you control more. But re-rolling hit rolls of 1, re-roll all hits in your own deployment. It's very interesting. I like that because wraiths didn't have enough oomph. And what makes wraiths even better now is you can have 10 immortals rerolling all hits and wounds with critical hits. No, you can't. You can't have 10 immortals because each time a model in a Cryptek or Canoptek unit from your army makes an attack, reroll a hit roll of 1. I should have mentioned it's the Canoptek Court. It's for Canoptek units only. So this will only affect. So if you've got immortals, if you've got Lich Guard, if you've got destroyers, if you've got any of that, they will not benefit from this detachment. This detachment is telling you to bring Canoptek stuff and Crypteks. It only benefits that. Cryptek gives the unit Cryptek keyword. Oh yeah, it does. You're right. Points over Lord Trafford, the points are getting changed. There's a 2-week release on this and the points are getting changed by the time it comes out. But yeah, you're right. If you stick a Cryptek in with a unit, then that unit suddenly gets the Cryptek keyword. So they're suddenly rerolling. I didn't even think of that. What I thought about was Wraiths rerolling hit rolls of 1 in No Man's Land, and you can put a Technomancer with a unit of Wraiths now. So all the Crypteks, like these guys, Technomancer, Chronomancer, Psychomancer, the old Technomancers can be attached to Immortals, Necron Warriors, or Canoptek Wraiths. So he's attached to a unit of Canoptek Wraiths. That means those Wraiths have a 5-up Feel No Pain on top of their 4+ Invulnerable save, and those Wraiths at the end of your movement phase, you can select 1 friendly Necron models within 6 inches of the bearer, so that'll be the Wraiths, and put D3 wounds back into that unit. So you've got Wraiths recovering unit wounds at the end of every movement phase. You've got Wraiths with a 5-up Invulnerable save. You've got Wraiths re-rolling hit rolls of 1 as they move up the board. You've got Canoptek Doomstalkers in your backfield, re-rolling all hits where they're shooting out. Scarabs and Spiders, not hugely great. But yeah, you stick in Crypteks with Lich Guard and Immortals. I mean, the Crypteks can join Immortals and Warriors. They're all join Immortals and Warriors. So we're talking about Immortals and Warriors. And Immortals, when they shoot, they reroll wound rolls of 1. If they shoot at something on an objective, they're rerolling. If the enemy unit is in range of an objective, they're rerolling all wound rolls. So if you have a Cryptek with them in your power matrix, then you've got Immortals firing at an enemy unit, rerolling all hits and rerolling all wounds. Mini Oath of Broken. Because that unit will get the Cryptek keyword because the Cryptek's in it. So there's some real utility in that. And in the Cryptek Court, there's a CP that allows you to do a stratagem in the Cryptek Court. 1 CP, counter temporal shift. In your enemy's shooting phase, if the thing shooting your thing is more than 12 inches away, spend 1 CP. Until the end of the phase, you can only be selected as the target of a ranged attack if the attacking model is within 12. So you've got your Canoptek Doomstalkers at the back, shooting their big guns down at the stuff. And your opponent's big guns on the other side of the table, they want to shoot them and take them out with a fight. Well, you pop a CP on one of the Doomstalkers and it lasts until the end of the phase. You can't shoot it unless you're within 12. That one's really good. There's anything that gives you movement is really good. So reactive subroutines, your opponent's movement phase, when they've done a normal move, advance or fall back. If there's a Canoptek unit within 9 inches of that, you can make a normal move of up to 6 inches. It doesn't say forward. You can move them in any direction. So an enemy unit comes around within 9 inches of you and suddenly you move 6 inches onto an objective. You can move them forward to move block or you can move back. So it makes a charge impossible. Movement wins you games. So not being able to shoot a unit unless you're within 12. Moving if an enemy unit gets within 9 of you. These are good stratagems. Yeah. Your opponent is shooting off fight phase, Curse of the Cryptek. If your Cryptek in the unit dies, then other guys nearby add 1 to hit roll, add 1 to wound. It's nice. I like it. We'll get it on the channel. We'll see what it looks like. What have we got in the chat? They lost the Cryptek and murder buckets combo for you. We need some Submariner and Necrons. Looking forward to throw my Death Watch against your new shiny Necro dudes. Yeah, it's good. Big sad. I only just realised the stream. Yeah. So the Canoptek Court. See, I've got 18 Wraiths. I've got more Spiders than you can legally field because they can come in units of up to 2 now. So that's 6 in the game. And I think I've got 12. I've got more Scarabs than you can legally field. So I can field a maximum number of Wraiths, Scarabs, Spiders, Canoptek Doomstalkers, add Technomancers into my units of Wraiths, add Cryptex with units like Chronomancers with units of Warriors. So those Warriors get the Cryptek keyword because that unit will have a Cryptek in it. So they'll be part of the Canoptek Court. So everyone's re-rolling hit rolls of 1. If you're in your own deployment zone, you're re-rolling all hit rolls. And sometimes in the middle of the game, you're re-rolling all hit rolls. Nice. And some interesting strats there. I've played with Canoptek heavy lists in this edition, in 10th edition, and they don't cut it. They're not there. So this might give them the edge to make them competitive, to make them not competitive, to pull them up to where they need to be. So they're not there. They're at about 70% of where they need to be. If you ran, prior to this, a full Canoptek list against a good, I'm not saying tournament level, but if you ran a full Canoptek list against a good list, you're losing that game 75% of the time. Now with this datasheet, detachment, that should be about on par now. Whether it's competitive, whether it's tournament friendly, not sure. Movement wins you games, and I don't think Canoptek stuff is killy enough to... This isn't going to be the tournament one. We'll get onto the tournament one in a second. What unit size are Scarabs now? Good question. What unit size are Scarabs? I'm interested to see. Scarabs are 3 to 6. See, because I've got like, I don't know, I've got many, many more. So the maximum you can take then will be 18. And I've got like 30 of the buggers. They still blow up. They're still lovely. Yeah. Units of 6. But you put your Canoptek Reanimator in there as well, and you'll put your Canoptek Doomstalkers in there as well. I feel like they went way overboard with nerfing RP. Reanimation protocols? Well, see, the thing about reanimation protocols is I don't think they nerfed it too much. Reanimation protocols is the fixed reanimation protocols are still the same. Roll D3, add that number of wounds back in, starting with whole models. The nerfs around it come with the orb and come with some of the stratagems and come with the fact that you can't do them when they're in reserve, come with some of the juicy bits around the edges, and with the Canoptek Reanimator come with that. Its auras are gone all the way down to 3 inches. So there has been a bit of a nerf with the associated rules around reanimation protocols, but I don't, from a Necron player point of view, I'm okay with it because sometimes you could get dirty. Sometimes you could get really dirty, and dirty means feel bad for your opponent. I have broken Sultan plays Will once or twice by playing Necrons against him, particularly since 10th edition came out. And I can see the lights and other players that I've played, I forget Chewie once, I think Chewie, I could see the light in his eyes fade a little bit. In this unit of 20 warriors that he got all the way down to like 3 of them remaining. And then I reanimated a bunch of them back in. And then in his command phase, I reanimated a bunch of them back in. And then in the shooting phase, he shot a couple of them and killed a couple of them. And I popped a CP to reanimate a bunch of them back in. So at the end of my turn, he'd got them down to about 3. And then by the end of his turn, they were back up to about 15 in the unit. There was some shenanigans you could do. And it was too much. If you focused on it and built towards it, you could make it a bit crazy. I think that's what gave it the legs at the tournament scene. So it might be a nerf too far as tournament play is concerned, but that's only like 1% of the gaming population, right? How good is the Void Dragon now? Let's check it out, Make the Machine. Voidbringer and Nightbringer are awesome now. They have 5-up Feel No Pain. So in here we have the Shard of the Deceiver, and the Nightbringer, and the Void Dragon, and the Transcendent Citan all have 5-up, feel no pain. All of them. They all have Necrodermis, so they all half damage from the attack. So the Shard of the Void Dragon is still toughness 11 with 12 wounds and a 4-up invulnerable save, but it halves all damage and has got a 5-up, feel no pain. OMG. OMG. And the Transcendent Katan has Deep Strike, and the Shard of the Deceiver has feel no pain, has stealth. So the Deceiver has stealth. The Deceiver is naturally good. Deceiver is going to be naturally -1 to hit all the time with a 5-up, feel no pain, and Necrodermis. Sure, but why not go with 1 or 2 warrior RP nerfs? Why do we need to get 6 nerfs to make them feel good? I'm just saying, I don't know. I didn't write it. What I'm saying is, maybe the nerfs are too many from a tournament point of view. We'll have to see. Once the codex comes out, and the Art of War boys and Manichima and all those guys get their hands on it and start bringing it to things, we'll see where it does. And maybe it's about right from a tournament scene point of view. Or maybe it's too much from a tournament scene point of view. From a general point of view, reanimation protocols could, if you stacked a thing with another thing and another thing, could feel pretty broken and pretty dirty. And from my personal opinion, I didn't expect it to be nerfed. I didn't expect it to be nerfed, but even though it is nerfed, it doesn't, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because I've seen the light in people's eyes fade with some shenanigans going on. Now, that might not be your experience of playing it, and that might not be your opinion either, but that's mine. Mad Larkin, boy, tier 1 Mad Larkin, what a name, dude. I just sad moment. I just went through all of Gaunt's Ghosts again, all of them. I was on holiday, all of them. What it was I finished The End of the Death Volume 2, right? And I was like, I finished. I listened to it all the way through on the Audible, and then I read it on my Kindle. So I did that twice, and then I got in my brain like, I've got to go back and read Pariah from Dan Abnett's Ravenor versus Eisenhorn stuff, because there's got to be some connection from Pariah to End of the Death 2, and I wanted to jog my brain, and there isn't at the moment, but there will be, I think. There will be. And then after finishing that and going on a hardcore Dan Abnett thing, I was like, I had the itching for the Gaunt's Ghosts. So I was like, I'm doing Gaunt's Ghosts again. Did you know Gaunt's Ghosts on Audible? There's one book that's not available on Audible. It's called Blood Pact, because what they did is they started releasing The Victory, Part 1 and Part 2. No, they started off with Salvation's Reach, and then did Anarch, and then did War Master. And then they went back and did The Founding of the Saint, and they've gone back through. And Blood Pact is coming out next month on Audible. So that means you'll be able to get all of Gaunt's Ghosts all the way through on Audible from next month, I think. There won't be and then I haven't got it on Audible yet, and I've read it so many times, but I'm going to get it on Audible. And I think it's all Toby Longworth as well. Watch your content all the time, figure out it would support. Thank you. Book 12 isn't there. Yes, I think that is Blood Pact, and that's coming. Just Craig, End of the Death Part 2, with an hour less to listen to. You tuned in here while playing Ultramarines instead of finishing it. Just Craig, you are a legend. I was actually looking at the calendar over the Christmas period, Craig, thinking we got to get a game in, like either on the 8th or the 22nd or something, because I miss you. Toddler bedtime complete. Where are we? We were about to we just found out that all the Catans had a 5-up feel no pain. OMG. So they're going to be absolute tonks. I only have the Nightbringer. Well, I have I forget what it's called. Go to Den of Imagination website. They've got a shop on there somewhere. What's the name of the thing that I designed with them and they painted for me? The Plague Reaper model. I've got the Den of Imagination Plague Reaper model, which I helped design with them. I said, look, this is what I want. And they sent me through some designs and I went, yeah, sort of. But can you do this and can you do this? And they sent me through more designs. I went, yeah, almost there. But I need this and this and this. And then they sent me through more designs and said, what do you think of this one? I said, yeah, that's it. Make that. And then they did. And then they made it. And then they sent it. And then they painted it to me. And then you could buy it on their website. Because the Nightbringer model is so diddy compared to the Void Dragon. And I wanted something big and chunky and it looks nice. Would you do more sedans? I could do more Catans with Den, can't I? I mean, the Void Dragon looks beautiful. The Nightbringer looks beautiful. And now I found out that the Deceiver has got Stealth and Feel No Pain and Necrodermis. I really should talk to them. Yes, just Craig, please. If you want to play, because if you've got some time off over the Christmas period and want to smash in some Heresy, we should smash in some Heresy. I miss you. So I did 2 of the things. Whoever's pinning these messages at the end. The first time I talked about at 26 minutes the Annihilation Legion. And then we talked about the Canoptek Court. Then we have the... how do you say that? Obeisance phalanx. Obeisance. I don't know how to say that. That one's all Lich Guard and Praetorians and things like that. And I don't have any Lich Guard and Praetorians in my 10,000 points worth of Necrons. So we're not even going to look at that. Instead, we go to the Hypercrypt Legion, which obese phalanx. Thank you. Are you allowed to show us the codex? Yes, I am allowed to show you the codex. Here's the codex. Yes. This is the teleportee detachment, the Hypercrypt Legion, and this is the one I predict you will see in tournament play. Because either 2 units, 3 units, or 4 units at the end of your opponent's turn are allowed to be put into Deep Strike. That number depends on the size of the game. So at 2,000 points, you can put 3 units into Deep Strike at the end of your opponent's turn. Why would you do such a thing? Well, at the end of your opponent's turn, any 3 number Necrons units that are not in engagement range, you put them into strategic reserves. So I'm playing the game against you. Say you go first and you move forward and spread out here, there, and everywhere. Then at the end of your first turn, I pick up 3 of my units. I put them in strategic reserves. Then in my turn, at the end of the reinforcement step, I can deep strike them in. So what you've got is units, well, you can't deep strike them in. They will come in from strategic reserve unless they have deep strike. Now, monoliths have deep strike. And there is a strat in here called Quantum Deflection, which is give a Necron's vehicle a 4-up invulnerable save. There's 2 Necron vehicles that don't have a 4-up invulnerable save, and one of them's the monolith. They're basically saying, hey, do you want to give your monolith a 4-up invulnerable save? For 1 CP, here's your 4-up invulnerable save from your... So what you're going to do is you're going to pick up your monoliths and you're going to put them down in the reinforcement step of your movement phase. You'll pay to give them... 1 minute, my pussy wants... Look at that. Free yourself, pussy, free. So you pick up your monoliths, you put them back down again in the reinforcement step of your movement phase, and then let's read the monolith rules. Let's remind ourselves, everyone, the monolith rules, because they are sweet. The monolith is a rule called Eternity Gate. In the reinforcement step of your movement phase, you can select 1 Necron's infantry unit from your army that's in reserves or on the battlefield. So, first up, this is in the reinforcement step of your movement phase. What happens is, with the Hypercrypt Legion, in the reinforcement step of your movement phase, you will put your monoliths that you've picked up at the end of your opponent's turn back in the reinforcement step of your movement phase. Then, during that step, in the reinforcement step of your movement phase, any infantry units that are on the board or are also in strategic reserves, you can deploy them, set them up anywhere on the battlefield wholly within 6 inches of this model and not within engagement range of one or more enemy models, and that unit can't charge. So at the end of your opponent's turn, you're picking up stuff and you're putting them back down again. And during that phase, you're also picking up infantry units and putting it back down again. And for 2 CP Dimensional Corridor, one Necron's unit from your army that was set up on the battlefield this turn using the Eternity Gate can charge. So suddenly you're charging. Now, what would also work really well in this thing is there is a, how do you say that one? Osteoclave Fulcrum. The Osteoclave Fulcrum, Necron's model only. Models in the bearer's unit have the deep strike ability. Models in the bearer's unit. So you get your Lockhurst Destroyer Lord with his Resorb and his big scythe. You give them that enhancement. You attach him to a unit of Lockhurst Destroyers, and they've got deep strike. So at the end of every one of your opponent's turn, you're picking them up, and then you're deep striking them where you need to be. And I don't know if there's anyone out there that watched the Warhammer World Cup Championship thing, but that was a thing for many different lists, including Manichima's one with his aggressors jumping around all over the place who won. That was a thing that you saw it in many different lists in the World Championships. The ability to pick up a unit and redeploy it and nuke something, and pick up a unit and redeploy it and nuke something, and pick up a unit and redeploy it and nuke something. And remember, your Lockhurst Destroyers have only got 24-inch range. You've got Destroyer Lord in there, 5-stick hit auto wound. And you would say to me, well, when you're in strategic reserve, though, you can't do your reanimation protocol. So if you've lost 2 of them, you're screwed. No. Reanimation crypts. In your command phase, your Necron Warlord, so long as he's on the table somewhere, for each of your Necron's units in reserves, your reanimation protocols activate. So you can do your reanimation protocols while you're off reserves. So they've even thought about it. You pick it up in the end of your opponent's turn, spend a CP. If your Warlord's on the battlefield, everything that's in reserve, including your monoliths, whatever it might be, because the target of that stratagem is your enemy Warlord. He needs to be alive and on the table, because you can't target things for stratagems if they're not alive and on the table. If they're in reserves, it doesn't work. It has to be them somewhere hiding. Then everything else that's in reserves for 1 CP, you can reanimate, and then in your turn, you drop it back in. You've got this unit of destroyers floating around all over the place, nuking stuff. You've got monoliths dropping back in, which you can charge out of for 2 CP. You've got other immortal units or Praetorian units or any infantry unit. Scorpec destroyers are infantry moving through and jumping through. It's there's some real shenanigans in there. Remember as well, monoliths are very, very powerful guns. They're toughness 13, which is rare because knights are toughness 12. A monolith is toughness 13 with 24 wounds, 22 wounds. Toughness 13 with 22 wounds. But their guns, Death Rays, are only 24-inch range, and the Particle Whip is only 24-inch range. So sometimes when playing with my monoliths before, I've had a real problem reaching out across the table and touching units on the other side of the battle grid, or influencing once you've cleared a space with them, or once. Their range is an issue. But having the ability to pick them up and put them down, negating their range, short-rangeness, is awesome. The same thing with destroyers. Lockhurst destroyers have had a real problem getting them in range. Sometimes the ability to pick them up and put them down, because you'll attach a character with an enhancement that's got deep strike and gives it to the whole unit. That negates those big weaknesses that I've had. You'll definitely feel it. And the ability to move around. And if you don't think that this is for, like I said, the 4+ invulnerable save for a Necron vehicle, they all come with invulnerable saves. That one's for monoliths. This one, 2 CP, you can charge out of a monolith. Entropic dampening, 1 Titanic model from your army, monolith. Those weapons. In your opponent's shooting phase, you select a Titanic model from your army. So that's an obelisk, a tesseract vault, or a monolith. When your opponent shoots at them, if they're within 18 inches, until the end of the phase, the models equipped by your enemy have hazardous. So it's not going to affect your enemy very much if they're firing in 1 or 2 really big hitters. But if they're firing in something that does 30 shots that scores devastating on 4s or criticals on 5s, and they're trying to force volume of fire in, then you can say, 1 CP, bam, all your shots are now hazardous. After you've done all your shots, roll a dice, and any ones you're picking up all your models. It's written with monoliths in mind, because at the end of every one of your opponent's movement phase, you're picking up 3 units. So you want units that can deep strike back in order to put them back in. Now, at the end of your opponent's turn, you can select up to any number up to 3 and deep strike them back in. So obviously anything in this book that can deep strike is going to be good. Hexmark destroyers can deep strike. Ophidian destroyers can deep strike, but you don't really need to do it on Ophidian destroyers because they have tunneling horrors anyway. You're not bringing Tesseract Vaults to a... They don't have deep strike anyway. I'm trying to find stuff with deep strike. I mean, Tesseract Vaults, by the way, just a side note on Tesseract Vaults. I've got one. One of the reasons why I ended up getting over 10,000 points, about 10,000 points worth of Necrons, is because I saw this model in the flesh for the first time at Warhammer World, of amongst all places, and thought, that is goddamn beautiful. I want that sexy baby in my life. I needed this. I'd seen it on battle reports and on images again and again, but actually seeing it in the flesh, it screamed 40k to me. I was like, I need that. So then I needed a Necron army, and that was one of the things that tipped me over the edge. And at the start of 10th edition, this had lost its 4-up invulnerable save and could only do 1 Katan power. It was a piece of poo. I haven't played with it. In the new codex, it's got its 4-up invulnerable save back again. It can do 2 Katan powers. Tesseract Vaults are back, baby. We will see it again. They increase from 20 to 22 wounds. Right, but what guns are even? Strength 14 for toughness to matter. Exactly. It matters for strength 7. It does. I've rewound the stream way back early to watch from the start, and I just got to the bit about close combat Necrons. Have to ask, has anyone used the term neckcorns? No one's used the term neckcorns. Necrons, neckcorns. I like it. I like it. You'll have to, when I run it, make sure you put that in. Well, let's make that a thing. Neccorns. Necrons. Corn. Maybe it needs some work. Deep striking Lichguard brick that basically only charges and not moves due to... Yeah, I mean, when you deep strike back in, you'd have to follow the rules, which is set up more than 9 inches away from an enemy model. Where you put them back into strategic reserve. And then if you give that unit the deep strike ability because you've got an Osseo, Tave, Clave, whatever it is, you'd have to follow the rules for deep strikes, so more than 9 inches away. But yeah. It's a very CP, I mean, it's a CP hungry one. There's Dimensional Corridor, being able to charge out of a monolith after you shunt across the table is 2 CP, but there's another 2 CP one in here as well. There's two CP ones in here. And this is Hyperphasic Recoil. In your opponent's shooting or fight phase just after the enemy is shot or fought, 1 Necron's infantry unit from your army that had 1 or more models destroyed as a result of the attacking unit's attack and 1 friendly Necron's model. So, your opponent's shooting phase, they've shot 1 of your units and killed 1 or more models. Or they've fought 1 of your units and killed 1 or more of your models. You can pick up that infantry unit from the battlefield, it doesn't matter whether it's engagement range or not, and redeploy it wholly within 6 inches of your monolith. That's 2 CP. That is pretty huge as well. So you're screening up with this unit over here. The enemy come round and shoot and attempt to charge it for 2 CP. So long as you lose a model, you pick them up and you move them all the way across and put them 3 feet away down in the corner of the battle grid. Say there is, you could push them forward, but basically redeploy through a monolith. So again, the hyper thingy bob detachment is all about monoliths. There's like literally 3 of the 6 stratagems are monolith targeting. 2 of them are 2 CP, but 2 of them are pretty being able to charge out of a monolith after deploying. You guarantee charges, people. You deploy anywhere within 6 inches of the monolith. This is in the reinforcement step of your movement phase, so you've already moved your monolith round to get closer to the enemy. Then you deploy out of it. Then you know there's a guaranteed charge if the unit is anywhere nearby, or guaranteed picking up units and moving them and putting them out of monolith. It's just there's a lot of shenanigans in that list. Being able to give a character deep strike and give it to the whole unit. There's a lot of movement shenanigans, which is why I think that particular detachment is going to be the go-to one for tournaments, because movement wins your games. Whether you need more than one monolith or not sure. My only reservation would be, so movement wins your games, moving around all over the place, lots of shenanigans in there, great stuff. Being able to pull 3 units off, great stuff. My only reservations about the whole monolith side of things would be match play tournament type boards. There isn't much room to move around because they all use those weird L-shaped buildings, and actually moving something as large as the monolith and navigating those table setups might be impossible. You might not even be able to do it. If that is the case, then it won't be the tournament go-to one. If there is a change to that board setup, or if it doesn't restrict it too much, or you're not playing a tournament, you're just playing around your friend's house or a local RTT or with your friends, this is the detachment where true Necron overlords, true evil geniuses like Stylus will shine. They've got a couple of strats in there that give them some real shenanigans. I just looking at it and thinking about the things that you could potentially pull off, and you might only pull off 1 or 2 during the course of a battle, but those 1 or 2 could change whether you won or lost the game. I like it. I like the shenanigans of it. It's sneaky. It's teleporty. It's nice. I like it. I like that one. I like World Eater Necrons. I like the fact that the Canoptek stuff feels viable again. And I like some of the little changes they made to the data sheets throughout the Necron books. It's lovely. I think between how killy it can be and how fast it can be, I don't know. Yeah, killy. Canoptek might appear at tournaments as well, particularly with triple Technomancers, with triple units of Wraiths. That might be a thing. Yeah, a lot of boards have 5-inch gaps, and I think the monolith is 7 inches wide. Yeah, so if that's the case, then you're not going to see it at tournaments. Do you see a time in the lore where Necrons are dominant again in the galaxy? I do, Stranger Come Knocking's hobbies, and I think it'll be about 500,000 years. So it'll be Warhammer 540k. Necrons are on a whole other timescale, Stranger Come Knockings. They're just waking up now. Actually, I say that's a lie. They've just started waking up. First records. I mean, there's even some stuff suggesting that there was some nibbly things going on about 2,000, 3,000 years ago, but it's... and then, of course, the Praetorians, the Lich Guard, and some of the Cryptex have been awake all this time. They work on a whole other time scale. Their wake-up period and the unification... The Silent King has only just appeared, and the Sautek dynasty going around saying, no, you're with me now, no, you were... This consolidation period that they're in right now will take about 100,000 years. And once they've consolidated it all together and Sautek is fully in charge again and everyone bows their head to them and all the things are sorted out and all the glitches are there, then they'll dominate the galaxy, and it's Warhammer 140k. So yes is the answer to your question, but not on a time scale that any mortal man could comprehend. on timescales that even the Eldar might blink at. They're looking at the far future. I mean, like the conquest of the galaxy by the Tyranids. The galaxy is a very big place, and Tyranids are going to take a very long time, like hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of years to cross from one side of the galaxy to the other to devour the whole thing. So the eventual doom and destruction of the entire galaxy by the Tyranid race is on the cards. The thing standing against them is the time it will take to get from A to B, and also the fact that by the time they're about halfway through the place, the Necrons should have their shit together and destroy them utterly. So yeah, it's definitely going to happen. But it isn't going to be... I mean, if they did Warhammer 140k, it'll be... Or Warhammer 540k, it'll be Tyranids versus Necrons. How broken, not broken would a quad Katan list be? Or would it be doomed by OC? How broken, not broken? It would feel broken in casual games. It wouldn't work in competitive at all. It would chew up so many points. And you need... It would chew up a lot of points. And you need stuff to do stuff. Engage in all fronts. Deploy teleport homers. Go and sit on an objective over there. You need stuff. Unless you built your secondaries around it, I'm not sure it would work. It's too many eggs in one basket. Yeah, it's just them versus Tyranids. That's how it's going to end. This is how this story ends, people. Do any of the other factions survive that, or are we talking extinction? Look, the Tyranids eat galaxies. That's what they... Here's two schools of thought. The Tyranids have eaten a galaxy and moved on, and eaten another galaxy and moved on, and eaten another galaxy and moved on. That's one school of thought. If that is the case, then it takes every single faction in this galaxy to stand a chance, working all together, side by side, hand high-fiving, to stop a force that can eat an entire galaxy. And even then, if they're the apex predator that can eat galaxies and have been doing it for billions of years, the universe has been around for 13 billion years, and say they evolved way back in the day with the old ones about 10 billion years ago, then they've had billions of years of doing it. There's no chance. And the Chaos factions can't even high-five each other, let alone the sisters hanging out with the Emperor's children and having a good time on a Saturday night. It ain't going to happen. The only potential way that you could stop a force that consumes galaxies, if you have a force like the Necrons that can bend time and space, pocket dimensions, or hyper... they controlled the entire... They're the only species that dominated the galaxy once. They won once, and then went to sleep because the result of their relentless wars, the second war in heaven, destroyed everything. Extinction level event, the dinosaurs. In the 40k verse, it wasn't a meteorite that hit the planet. It was the Necrons and the second war in heaven, which wiped out pretty much all sentient life in the galaxy. So they went to sleep because biotransference wasn't possible, because there was only mushrooms and shrews running around all over the place, a few trees, a few mushrooms. That was it. That's one school of thought. Here's the second school of thought for you. Every single galaxy around the Milky Way in our local galactic cluster, and then in the greater galactic cluster, the closest 100,000 galaxies, trillions and trillions and trillions, all of them have been consumed by the Tyranids. And it's not a force that goes from galaxy to galaxy to galaxy. Imagine like we're in the middle of a donut, and it's not just a few hive tendrils coming here. Imagine if all of space that we can see when we look up to the night sky is dead. All of it. There's another school of thought. And it's all dead because of the Tyranids. Hey, it's grim in the dark out there, people. I like that one better. Because one of the rules that we know for 40k lore is if you think it's bad, you've got no idea. It's much worse. It's always worse than you think it could be. What is the worst possible outcome it could be? It's worse than that. So I like the idea that the Tyranids aren't a galactic space hopping, I eat galaxy stuff. I like the idea that they have consumed all space around is dead space, and they've consumed all of it, and they're there, and we're a speck in the ocean, and even then the Necrons won't be able to do anything about it. Then we're definitely screwed. So there's two schools of thought. There's other schools of thought, but those are the two main schools of thought when you talk to hardcore Tyranid lore people about what is going on out there. But long story short, yeah, they eat galaxies and we're screwed. And that's, I like our new Tyranid overlords. I worship the four-armed emperor. Why not? Get on his side before it all starts going horribly wrong, right? Yeah, but our galaxy's special, right? Yeah. Our galaxy's special. Maybe the God Emperor will save us. They don't so much eat and move on as they do eat, expand and continue. See, yeah, there's been some retconning of some Tyranid lore recently. Not retconning. No, that's the wrong word. As the Tyranid lore has grown over time, they've added to the Tyranid lore. So there are bits in the Tyranid lore where they've been seen not just stripping planets down to the core, stripping them down and just leaving them lifeless husks, even sucking the very atmosphere and the oceans. They dissolve all biological matter, feed it up through these hive capillaries, up to the hive fleet that suckles on the atmosphere of the planet and then drift on until all that's left, until the next ship that comes along and checks out what went on over there, is this dead rock, like an asteroid with these planet-sized asteroid with these bone-ish structures coming out of it, which are the hive capillary towers, and that's it. There's now also some lore suggesting that they've been building things and doing things on some planets as well. There's the crystal one, and then there's the fungoid one. So there is some lore that suggests on some planets they mean to stay. Why? Who knows? Tyranids. Yeah. I like to think the Tyranids are just really consuming matter in other galaxies to restore their own. Yeah, maybe they're just trying to eat all this stuff, take it back to their home galaxy and rebuild. I don't know. It's, yeah. Who knows? They're a force of nature. They are a forest fire. They are a tsunami. I think I smashed the Necron book. I think I've rambled quite in many different directions this evening about lots of stuff. This is your 2-minute warning, people. We are in the red zone. This is your 2-minute warning. For any questions, comments, things like that, I might be longer than 2 minutes if you keep me here. But I've enjoyed my chat tonight. This was really good fun. And thank you for the donations and the new members and the things. Badger King, I will see you tomorrow. Just Craig, hit me up on the thing about a game. If you want a game, I'd love to play a game. We'll get a game in. That'd be lovely. This book is lovely. I see some tournament shenanigans stuff going on in here. Oh, I see some strong, not tournament shenanigans. I see some strong lists in here, some strong ways to play, and I see some interesting ways of playing with my collection, which I never expected to see, such as World Eaters, Close Combat Necrons. And it's nice to see some of the problem units have been repaired a little bit here or there. What models do you encourage a Necron player to pick up considering the updates to our army? I would encourage you to get the book and look at... See, the detachments are very focused. So I'd encourage you... So if you want to run Canoptek, you're going to need a lot of Canoptek because it only benefits Canoptek and Cryptek. So you're going to want them or Immortals or Warriors because Cryptek's can attach to Immortals and Warriors. You're going to want loads of Immortals and Warriors and the Canoptek stuff, and that's it. If you want to do the Destroyer Cult one, then it only really benefits Close Combat, not Scorpek ones, because it's reroll charges. So you're going to want Ophidians, you're going to want Scorpeks, you're going to want Flayed ones, and that's it. If you want the Hyperphase thingy bob, then you really need 2 monoliths and infantry to teleport around those monoliths, and that's... Well, and then if you want the Canoptek one, then you're going for scarabs, spiders, things. So get the book, think about how you want to play, and then go from there. I'm lucky enough to have enough of a collection to be able to play the Monolith one, the Canoptek one, And the Destroyer one, I don't have any Praetorians and Lich Guard, otherwise I'll be smashing that either. And then if you don't want to play those specific ones, then the Awakened Dynasty, the one that we've been rocking all this time, is good. It's still good. It's still good. Yes, sir. Looking forward to it. Nice. Biscuits will be brought with me. Hobnobs, please. Preferably chocolate chip hobnobs, not chocolate coated hobnobs. Chocolate chip inside. If you've already bought the biscuits, I also like all the classics like the bourbons and the custard creams and things like that. And Jaffa cakes, not biscuits. What are your thoughts about bringing back narrative missions like they had in Cities of Death 8th edition? Did it? Yeah, I've talked about that before. Your average paramedic. In other live streams, I think there should be a book that comes out and it says Warhammer 40k narrative. So I'll answer the question very quickly. In the book, there should be a section on Cities of Death with some missions and 1 or 2 rules. 3 rules, and that's it. But here's some missions and here's a couple of rules. Keep it simple, stupid. And then Planet Strike, a chapter with Planet Strike, boom, in it. A chapter with Attack and Defend missions in it. A chapter with a section with, so you can go Attack, Defend, you can go Planet Strike, you can go Indoor, like Space Hulk, and it should be 40k narrative book. Here's some ideas for narrative missions. Here are some different narrative scenarios in there that people can pick up and use and pick up and play. And then at the back of the book, they can have a little bit about how to build your own narrative missions, or at the back of the book, they can sell the shit out of Crusade as much as they want to, like pimp their other stuff. But there should be a source book for open play, narrative play. There should be a source book for casual play, narrative play that anyone could pick up without picking up a Crusade book and jumping into. And it doesn't need to be 4 different books for 4 different ways. It can all be in one book. That's what they should do. Are we going to see the Penitent Forge anytime soon? I've got this. I just need some time for this wound to become a scar. I wish Imatech would have gotten you wanted him to go Giga Hard. Okay. They need better terrain kits, honestly. Do they? How do I order dice? Mad Larkin, I'm all out of dice. I'm all out of dice. I'm so lost without you. They were a limited run and they're gone. I'm afraid they're gone. I might do dice again at some point, but not at least for a year or 2 maybe. But they're gone. It's a lot of bother, and I'm sorry you missed it this time. Maybe someone will sell you some on eBay for $100 million, $4 million. Anyway, I think we've covered everything. You got to get a Necron board for your next bout. No, it's very specific. I've got an Elder. I've got a few bits of terrain that are specific, and it's just, I live in my house. I don't have enough space. I'd love to have some Necron specific terrain and some Eldar specific terrain, and I've got some Orky specific terrain, but I've got an Orc army. Maybe actually I haven't got an Eldar army, see, so maybe I should get some Necron specific terrain. I've got a couple of packs of those obsidian things. I could just use them terrain, maybe. Yeah, I'm sorry, Mad Larkin. I mean, you got such a cool name as well. But yeah, we'll get there. Anyway. Thank you for stopping by. This one, I normally like to wrap it up around an hour, but I've enjoyed it. I know. Don't do the sad face on me, Mad Larkin. I'm feeling guilty as it is. Yeah, I'd normally like to keep these around an hour, but you've kept me this evening. I've had fun chatting about that one. Maybe I should do the Admech one at some point. I can't, no. It just hurts. It hurts too much. Anyway, thank you all for popping by. I hope you enjoy the channel. There's, like I said, Emperor's Children versus Death Guard is out tomorrow for Tier 3 channel members. The one at the weekend it might be Badger King's one tomorrow. I've got another one filmed. But if the Badger King one tomorrow, now I've mentioned it on the live stream, kicks it out of the park, Badger King, then we'll put that one up for the Sunday people. Yes, we'll do that, I think. Who knows? Anyway, yes, I've got to wrap this up. I must find a better way, a more professional way of closing these out. I must just be more professional overall, really. It's just unprofessional is my middle name. Yeah, and you're still here, and we're still doing it, and we're in our 9th year. 10th year in August. Just thank you guys for keeping me in this job. I love this job. It's great. It's not even a job. I just do my hobby more and more, and you support me. It's awesome. Who'd have thunk it? Hello and goodbyes. Okay. Anyway, thanks for listening, everyone, and happy wargaming.